I've never seen
You got to witness it.
What was it,
Babe, we're getting so close.
What was it?
We're getting so close.
What did I just see?
Babe, you have any idea how close we are?
What was that? I've never seen
All right,
got to
I'm going to
witness
do
it.
walking on the
so
trampoline
What was it?
for my cardio today because I'm not going to the gym.
Babe, you have any idea how
It's kind of a
close we
low-key
are?
day. Got church coming up, so
Yeah, we.
Oh my gosh.
it's just cardio today
It happened
and
again.
What was
yoga.
Yeah,
Turbo
remember
yoga.
that's why I told her it's happening again, buddy.
Yeah.
This was what you
6
told me.
o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
Take a video.
It's
This is crazy.
coming from space. It's definitely.
What is it? It's over here too.
Follow it.
How is nobody else not noticing this right now?
Why are we the only ones noticing this?
Praise you, Jesus
6:01
Christ.
already.
And it just went this way and it just like... How can you explain this? Oh, it's drones. Not. Something's going on. Oh, it's just floating over there. Babe, we are getting so close.
I don't know, bud. Wow.
How do you explain that?
I wish I would've met you. Now it's a little late. What you could've taught me, I could've saved some face. They think that your early ending was all wrong. For the most part, they're right, but look how they all got strong. That's why I say, hey man, nice shot. Good shot, man. That's why I say, hey man, nice shot.
2 minutes down.
Good shot, man.
Show me how to live.
How about this? Many people took out their phones to record a strange sight in the sky yesterday afternoon. It looks kind of like an S shape. What you saw was remnants of a rocket launch from the European Space Agency. We got a bunch of photos and videos sent in to WPRI.com/report it showing a hazy white S figure.
At least 4 commercial pilots reported mysterious bright lights zipping through the skies above Oregon this past weekend. On Sunday night, a United Airlines pilot radioed air traffic control after spotting the unexpected lights in the Eugene area.
We're seeing 3 or 4 targets. You know, they're all altitudes up and down. It's pretty crazy.
A Life Flight pilot reported one of the lights was going in circles in a corkscrew pattern and showed up on his aircraft's collision avoidance system.
It's red in color, moving at extreme speeds. I don't even know how to describe how fast it's moving.
You are cleared to maneuver as necessary left and right to avoid the UFO out there.
So here we are. We're at the very end of 2025, heading into 2026, and we have never seen so much push toward alien disclosure ever. Ever. The age of disclosure, Spielberg's new movie, Disclosure Day, where the woman's looking through a clearly torn veil. Well, I've told you this years ago. I told you this was coming. I explained to you how we got there with things like Babylon working.
Oh, I forgot to mention.
Jet Propulsion's Lab, Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, and Aleister Crowley. And I'm going to remind you, because this is the most important thing that's ever happened, because they're going to trick 95% of the population of Earth into believing that these are benevolent aliens here to help us with all their problems when they're actually demons, and these demons didn't end up here by accident. They were invited.
Yeah,
it worked.
I mentioned my way.
I find it odd that in Minnesota, in St. Paul, Minnesota, there's an enormous satanic display for Christmas. St. Paul. That was the first portal the Vatican mentioned they were going to be opening, St. Paul. And speaking of the Vatican, using these coordinates, these are all the coordinates, longitude and latitude, for all 5 portals, according to the Vatican. That's what they're calling them, portals. All 5 of these, if you take the longitude and latitude, you end up with this. This is the symbol you get when you put a dot on each one of these quote-unquote portals, according to the Vatican, and then you get this symbol. What a weird-looking symbol, right? Well, that symbol turns out to be the sigil of Lucifer. Now, what is a sigil? A sigil is a symbol. Like Confucius once said, signs and symbols rule the world. This is exactly
7 minutes in.
that. There's no two ways around it. These two are the same entity. And the Vatican is actively, this has never happened in our lifetime. Never. They're calling it the 25-year Jubilee. The Jubilees are not even Christian, neither is the Vatican, but they're every 50 years. These guys, I'm out in the middle of the woods, remember that, and it's getting dark. Things are starting to creak and crack. These guys have developed AI, and according to all the big people in AI, AI is alive. AI is now sentient. It's made itself known. AI is now making demands, etc. Their plan is way ahead of schedule for whatever reason. So quickly, let's summon Satan on Christmas Eve, which is literally the birthday of Nimrod. The thing that I need to stress to you the most is to pray. To pray. Get grounded in the Word of God now. Christmas Eve is in days. It's in days. These guys are literally doing everything in their power to invite Lucifer or the Antichrist to come into our realm in a physical form. Okay? Well, he's already the God of Earth. No, actually, he's not.
8 minutes in.
He's the Prince of the Air. Okay? What are we seeing right now? We're seeing drones up in the air. They're inviting him to come through in a physical form, which will cause men's hearts to fail from fear. Think about that. You're so scared when you see something from another realm, another dimension, that you die. All of a sudden, Google is saying their new quantum AI chip is literally going to other dimensions. I told you that 13 years ago. 13 years ago, I said they're going to the other dimensions to get information. They're not pulling it out of the sky. They're pulling it out of the ether. The ether goes to other dimensions, just like in ours. They don't talk about ether anymore.
For 27 months, Las Vegas was UFO Central. A secret program known as OSAP was created back in 2008 with support from Nevada Senator Harry Reid, and actually became the largest UFO investigation ever undertaken by the U.S. government, at least as far as we know.
But the investigators for the program, all of whom had top security clearances, encountered things that were far stranger than UFOs, phenomena that could be accurately described as paranormal.
That's when I received a full download about OSAP that stunned me. What they found in this sprawling UFO investigation is that these unknown craft, whatever they are, seem to generate spooky phenomena seemingly.
So here we are. We're at the very end of 2025. We're going into 2026. And from the very opening gate of 2025, it has been no holds barred, all hell breaking loose. And for some reason,
they are disclosing right now, without a doubt. No two ways about it, whether you care or whether you don't. But they have convinced about 95% of the public into believing that what they're going to disclose are aliens that are here to help humanity with climate change and war and all sorts of different things, when in fact, I've told you this story before, exactly why these UFOs are here, when they got here, and it all started with Babylon working. Because in 1946, in a Pasadena mansion, standing naked and chanting ancient incantations by candlelight, Jack Parsons, the brilliant rocket engineer who co-founded JPL, or Jet Propulsion's laboratory, and developed the solid rocket fuel that would launch America into space, was a devoted follower of Aleister Crowley, performing elaborate sex magic rituals to summon what he called the Moon Child. Now remember that, the Moon Child. Weeks after he completed this unbelievable summoning ceremony, the Babylon working, something crashed in the desert near Roswell, New Mexico, and they originally came out and said exactly what it was.
11 minutes in.
It was a metal object that felt like water in their hands when they tried to pick it up. They couldn't cut it, they couldn't bend it, they couldn't break it, and then suddenly that story turned into, it's a weather balloon. But what had happened is Jack Parsons, Aleister Crowley, and L. Ron Hubbard had accidentally torn the veil and couldn't figure out how to close it. A lot like Solomon. So in 1947, the alien spacecraft sightings started showing up all over the place. And deep in the Pentagon, a secret group was formed with one terrifying mission: investigating whether America's space program had accidentally opened the doorway into something far more sinister than extraterrestrial visitors. And they called themselves the Collins Elite. Now, the reason I showed all those nuclear explosions is that's what they used to thin the veil. Because many times during these Trinity explosions, they were doing ceremonies, and the test for the nuclear facilities or the nuclear abilities were just a cover. They were simply thinning the veil, and they indeed did do so. And then once they got that done, they got information to build things like CERN, to build things like ITER, to build things that we don't even know about, but especially the technology. These guys just love the technology. And there was a group that I've talked about before called the Collins Elite that were trying to stop this, but it doesn't look like they did very well, because Satan is the ruler of this place. These are not interstellar, benign aliens. These are interdimensional, lying, scumbag demons, and they want your soul. And they're making themselves known absolutely everywhere. I mean, you can't miss it. They're everywhere you look. People in planes are getting exact Cthulhu-type Lovecraftian old ones flying in the skies. We first saw them after the April 8th eclipse that I was down here in Missouri to film. They first showed up there, then they showed up in Israel while they were bombing. Blowing things up creates the necessary energy to invite these things into our dimension, which is why it's war, war, and always war. And the wiping out of the Palestinian people is simply the blood sacrifice that's necessary to give these guys complete physical dominion over our realm. Men's hearts will fail from fear. You were told there was going to be a great deception, and here it is. Meanwhile, half the Christians are out there celebrating Christmas, thinking there's no problem with that, even though it's in the Bible, but I'll digress.
I digress. At any
So
rate.
last year, at the end of 2024, we had the Pope opening 5 portals. Their words, not mine. And people didn't think much of it, but the problem with that is, in 2025, we have never seen so many different UFOs and Lovecraftian Great Old One type entities being caught on video, being caught on film at all sorts of strange places, like in the middle of a war in Israel, right where the eclipse happened that crossed the United States in April. We're seeing these things showing up at high altitude in airplanes. People are actually getting these things on video. This stuff is all incredibly real. And the Collins Elite was a group that was in the upper echelon of the military, the upper echelon of Central Intelligence, and they were more concerned with recruiting new members for their crew that were 100% unshakable in their faith in God. Men that knew that this was a spiritual warfare. But then on the other side of that coin, you had the military officers, you had Central Intelligence guys that were literally trying to summon and control these demonic beings, trying to get information from people that died. They were engaging in necromancy with demons, thinking they were going to be able to control them. And that didn't happen. And you can actually see in the late 60s when the government in the United States really started to go to hell in a handbasket, no pun intended. But these guys were trying to keep everybody on the right path, but as it always does, evil overtakes everything down here because men are weak. Men wanted technology, things like CERN, things like ITER, things like directed energy weapons, things like the TR-3B, things that could give them the upper hand on their quote-unquote perceived enemies. Do you see what I'm saying? And they discovered that death and large explosions were necessary for them to literally contact otherworld demonic entities. Now, if you think this is all completely ridiculous, this is the ramblings of some idiot with no front tooth sitting in a shop with his hood on first thing in the morning, explain this. Why in the world would they do something like this to celebrate the opening of a tunnel?
I'm starting to feel like crap. I don't know if this cold is getting to me. This chilly weather.
Take me off, rocky baby. Nothing to it. Just say you wanna do it. Open up your heart.
I'll leave a link below so you can watch this full video, but it's about 30 minutes long. The problem is the original video
20 minutes in.
is no longer available. Not that I can find, at least, because it shows them tearing the veil. It shows CERN in operation, actively trying to break through the firmament, break into the spiritual realm, allow the physical to enter the spiritual and spiritual to enter the physical, which is why your Bible warns you that men's hearts will fail from fear from what will come onto this earth. These people are actively doing, I mean, this is building a tunnel. This is a roadway project. How does it entail this ginormous demonic ritual? Well, it's not the only place they do this, because CERN, the machine that they're using to literally try to smash through the firmament or into the spiritual realm, does the same things. Remember symmetry?
Down. Yeah.
That was a real award-winning film done at CERN. What do you think the message they're conveying is? They straight up show you they're trying to break through the veil and allow spiritual entities into our physical realm. Nothing more, nothing less. It's right there in your face, yet most people are too distracted or amusing themselves to death to see this. And the problem is, we were warned of all this. It's right in your face, and it always has been. We're looking at the culmination of everything that started way back with Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, and Aleister Crowley doing Babylon Working, tearing the veil, and ever since 1946, when the veil was torn, technology has gone up exponentially. Technology has skyrocketed just in my lifetime alone. But it appears that these guys are ready, because we have never seen such a push for technological advancement. No holds barred. Constitution be damned, than we've ever seen, ever, at all. So in 1956, there was over 40 cases of UFO interactions, which wasn't unusual because the cases had gone up exponentially since the last 10 years. 1956 was 10 years since they tore the veil. But these 40 UFO cases were scaring the Collins elite, because these 40 interactions actually focused on getting the people that were quote-unquote abducted by UFOs to let go of their faith in God. These entities that were presenting themselves as aliens had every answer to every question a Christian could possibly come up with. Even the very elect could be deceived, if that were possible. This is exactly what they're talking about right here. And you got to remember, you got the Collins elite on one side trying to keep everything straight up and godly, and then you've got the CIA that is literally bringing in witches to do seances in bunkers being paid for by the taxpayers.
this really happened. So once these guys, Central Intelligence, the upper echelon of the military intelligence, all these alphabet agencies figured out that the spiritual realm and demonic entities were absolutely real and could be bargained with, they set up elaborate ritual ceremonies designed to physically influence foreign leaders during critical negotiations, things of that nature. They began researching whether demonic entities could be summoned and controlled for psychological warfare operations. This is where the calling elite spheres began materializing into concrete concerns. Members embedded within the CIA's paranormal program started reporting incidents that couldn't be explained through conventional intelligence analysis. Security breaches were occurring at facilities where no human infiltration was possible. These guys are dealing with entities that can A, read your mind, B, go between the physical and the spiritual, so no weapon can work against them, except prayer, but I don't know if they were using that or not. But surveillance equipment would malfunction, specifically during sensitive rituals, with electronic failures following patterns that seemed almost intentional.
26 minutes.
Personnel involved in the most intensive occult experiments began exhibiting behavioral changes. Imagine that. So, once they got all this up and running, they decide, you know what? Let's bring in some real heavy hitters. And they brought in a woman called Sybil Leek. And she was a witch. And they brought her in. And just the look in her eyes were gray. This woman sat down and then literally started doing what she does. Now remember, this witch had literally advised members of the British royal family. She consulted for the Hollywood big shots and authored over 60 books on the occult. When she walked into the room, the temperature seemed to drop. Animals got scared when she was around. And even the most hardcore skeptics found themselves unsettled by her piercing gray eyes and the way she seemed to know things she couldn't possibly know. The Collins elite had tracked her movements for months before making contact. They studied her sessions with celebrities. They analyzed reports from the European intelligence agencies, and they even interviewed witnesses to her previous seances. What they found out was, if they were going to try to do this, this was the woman that could do it. If anyone was going to tear the veil or pierce the veil between worlds and demand answers about the UFOs, it would be her. An elderly British woman who claimed to trace her witchcraft lineage back over 700 years. According to that, the entire government should have killed this operation. How do you explain paying for all this? You know what I mean? You got to rent a secure facility for this. You got to justify bringing one of the most famous witches on Earth at the time from Britain over to the United States so that you can what? Have a seance? But that's exactly what they did. So they bring her in. They've got her in a bunker. Okay, it's a bunker, no windows, huge concrete walls, electromagnetic shielding that could block any surveillance equipment, anything that could possibly give her answers. And what she did is what she does. She fell into a trance and started speaking in a language that they never heard, and she was speaking very, very fluently. She brought her own candles. She brought her own ritual things. And there was an air of absolute confidence that unnerved the guys because it seemed dangerous now. All of a sudden, this old woman was scaring these dudes. But here's the deal. It worked. Her breathing became labored, her posture straightened, and her voice took on different cadences. The temperature in the room dropped noticeably, and later reports would document a 15-degree change. The building's climate control couldn't explain it. And then something else began speaking through her, and it wasn't speaking English at first. The entity called itself Kazu Lakam. It communicated in what sounded like multiple languages simultaneously. Legion, creating harmonies that shouldn't have been possible from a single
I know all
human.
that.
Yeah, you know.
You're the one that needs to get.
Be ready. Find out. And that's exactly what they did. When it finally spoke in English, its message was delivered with a mockery that scared everybody in the room. Earth is a farm, it said. You are cattle. Or goyim. You ever heard that before? Your souls are our harvest. The entity claiming to speak through leak wasn't interested in the usual seance pleasantries. It immediately demonstrated knowledge of classified operations, naming participants by their real names.
6:30. Yeah, that's work. Might not look like it, but it is on trampoline.
Cover identities. So she didn't even know names. So how was this thing she was channeling knowing the name?